Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Now I've been doing a lot of plein air painting this summer, which is painting out and about, which does require a slightly different watercolour kit. And loads of you have been asking me what are my ultimate travel kit essentials. So I'm here to tell you. Heading out of doors can be quite a daunting experience, so there's nothing wrong with just starting in your own back garden. And of course this time of year there's an absolutely amazing wealth of growth, flowers blooming, things going a little bit wild, especially in our garden. So I thought I'd just set up at my own table in the garden and show you what's in my backpack. So the first thing is a bag to carry everything in. Now I'm not going to be giving you specific brands of everything because I think all of us have probably got a trusty backpack somewhere in the house or even a tote bag. For me there's nothing specific beyond it just being big enough to fit everything in. So let's dive inside, see what I've got. Whoops. So this is going to feel a bit like a Mary Poppins moment because the first thing is quite large, and this is a little folding artist stool. Now I will put links in the episode notes for anything that I'm able to specifically tell you about, but this was actually given to me by a fellow plein air painter who didn't need it anymore. But the great thing is you'll have seen me using it on the blog, but it folds up really nice and easily, and this is by a company called Shine Trip, and it does really nicely, and it actually has a handy little pocket in underneath to just like keep little bits dry if the ground's wet. That's quite useful. Next in my bag is a brush roll, and this is by a company called Mac Pack. But there are plenty of different designs, and I've even got friends who've sewn their own versions. But this brush roll is so useful for protecting your brushes because they are so delicate. Those bristles can get a bit bent out of shape if you're not careful. And to be honest, even when I place my brushes in the little compartments, the best thing is to actually keep those little plastic tubes on top of your brushes to keep them really safe. But what brushes do I take with me? Well, I love to take my set of 7 pointed round Pro Art brushes, which are available in my shop, my website and Etsy store, because you know these are always the brushes I go to first because they're wonderfully versatile. The pointed round style works for so many of the kinds of things I love to use. But there is one other brush in my kit, and that is one of these water brushes. Now we're going to get on to how on earth we manage the water element of travel painting, but this is one of those possibilities. It has a channel where you can put water in, which allows you to just squeeze the brush. A little bit of water will probably come out now. There we go. Squeeze the brush and allow the water to come out that way. It's something that takes a bit of getting used to. It's not something I use as my first choice, but it's a really handy thing to have in there. And then lastly, just a little pencil, and I use an HB pencil every time. This is just a regular Staedtler pencil that you get in any kind of stationery shop, and it's quite shrunken down now. You could always bring a sharpener along with you, or a few options, a few additional pencils if you wanted, but I always bring one along, and I put it in my brush roll. So the next thing I'm getting out of my bag is a sketchbook. Now at the moment I'm a big fan of the Etcher Lab Perfect Sketchbook. I've tried quite a few different ones, and for watercolour, to have good enough paper, like 3GSM cold pressed watercolour paper, is quite difficult. And I've found that Etchelab have done a really brilliant job with this. This is the sketchbook I took with me to Scotland, and we'll be doing a full-on sketchbook tour for you very soon of that full trip. But this is just wonderful. It's A5, which is 21 by 14.8 centimetres. You can paint on both sides of the paper. There's also a little pocket in the back for loose sheets, and then a handy little elastic to keep it all closed. So I think the rain's about to start falling, so I'm just gonna put that parasol up. One sec. Okay. Typical. So what's next in the bag? Well, we've got the brushes, we've got the paper, we need paints, but we need to work out how on earth we deal with the water when painting plein air. So I have a few things when it comes to water. The first is a little sweatband. The next, a small bottle of water, of spray. And then, you may have seen these, a little clip-on paint tin. So let's see what these can do. First off, I love this little paint tin because it just means that I don't have to faff around with the water brush, which if I don't have to use, I'd rather not. And all it means is I can clip that on to the side of my sketchbook, and look, I'm even holding it up and it won't go anywhere. Then this handy little bottle can either be a spritz bottle for my paints, or it can be my filler-upper for my handy little water pot. And then this is all about being able to clean off your brushes. So you get your brush wet, you've got too much water going on, too much paint. Well, all you need to do is just blot it out on the wristband. So you could say I'm pretty much all set, but there's one thing missing, and that is the paint. Now, I've tried an awful lot of different little paint palettes, different travel sets, and for me there's always been something not quite right. And so I have come up with something pretty cool. I have collaborated with one of my favourite watercolour manufacturer companies, Viviva Colours, to create the cutest little limited edition set of essential watercolour paints for travel painting. So let's have a look at this gorgeous little set. The first thing that I'm so proud of, and Viviva Colours are very passionate about, is this is a plastic-free watercolour travel palette, because Viviva Colours use cork to create their watercolour pans. So there's no plastic anywhere, and they have this really clever little wax paper palette to allow you to mix on it. And it comes with a very satisfying little colour swatch, so you can put your colours there, and then the whole thing slots into this very sweet little casing that just so happens to have my very own watercolour designs, all painted with the 8 colours I've chosen. So the big thing, I think, the big challenge with painting plein air, if you haven't done it before, is thinking, what colours do I choose when you've got a limited resource? I've gone for 8 colours. So what are these 8 colours that I've chosen? Well, let's have a closer look. So the Viva colours are handmade watercolour paints, and they are vibrant and beautiful colours. I use them sort of interspersed with various other brands that I like to use, but we've got a really interesting selection that I spent a long time trying to decide upon. So we have got Scarlet, Vine Green, Opera, Amaranth, Deep Yellow, Indian Red, Deep Blue, and this rather lovely little one called Cinnamon over here. So shall we have a little swatch and see what they look like? And you can also see my general travel setup in action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give these colours a little spritz. And let's begin with Scarlet. So you get a lovely broad little pan there. And as well as just popping it into there, what I'm going to do is just show you how incredibly vibrant that is, but also if I wanted to just reduce the amount I've got on the page, makes for a beautiful transparent colour as well. And I love having the little double pot here, which means I can like get rid of the colour off one and go in for a clean dip here as well. So here we have Vine Green. Opera, so a real vibrant opera pink, opera rose. Then Amaranth down here, I chose it for its crimson qualities to be a fantastic, useful sort of alizarin crimson type of colour. And you might be thinking, well, you've got a lot of reds and pinks in there, Harriet. Well, I decided that my favourite things to paint out and about were flowers. And especially this time of year, to have a real range of pinks and crimsons is really fantastic. There's my deep yellow. I also want to make sure that I've got a lot of the classics in my essential colour palette. So I've got a lovely Indian red, which to me has got that richness very similar to burnt sienna. You can see how it goes into a lovely transparent tone. Now we have a very limited number of these, as it is a very special limited edition collaboration. So if you would like to get your hands on a little set for your summer painting, then you can head to my Etsy shop or my De Winton Paper Co. website store and get one of, we've only got 250 units of this, and then this colour. Oh, this is a lovely creamy cinnamon, and to be honest, if you're not interested in any of the other colours, I think I'd buy it for this one alone. Can that fit on? Yeah, that can fit on the page, because this is such a beautiful colour. It's like if buff titanium was blushing, and it just goes beautifully pale. Now we've got 8 beautiful vibrant colours, but I bet you're wondering, how many colours can we get from this? Well, it just so happens in my little pocket of my sketchbook I've created a full swatch of all of the colours. So you can see here what I've done to create this chart is I've done a swatch of each of the 8 colours down one side and exactly the same order of the 8 colours on this side, which means that when one colour meets another one across the chart, we get the mix of those 2 colours. But what I thought is most important with watercolour is to actually see what the colours look like when they're more concentrated, which is up in this top triangle here, and when they are more dilute as well, because of course the colours change so much and we see so many of those lovely, beautiful, dilute, delicate colours in nature. So for example, if I just show you where we have yellow, where yellow meets the lovely cinnamon colour. So we can either go yellow to cinnamon and it creates a lovely kind of golden, slightly sort of off yellow, slightly peachy golden colour. But if yellow meets cinnamon in the dilute tone, we get a really beautiful pale golden cinnamon colour. And the same if you were to match your opera pink with your deep yellow, either from a dilute point of view, you get a gorgeous, gorgeous peachy translucent colour, or a much stronger concentrated view. Wow, look at that amazing orangey red that you get from the same thing. So these tones can be made from this little set of 8 colours, but the best has not been revealed yet. There is another reason why this is my absolute favourite for plein air painting. Apart from just being super cute, this is also extremely practical because we've looked at the colours, we've looked at the fact we've got a little mixing palette here, but what I can do is I can use the clip to just hold this all in place when I'm sitting and painting, or if I want a bit more mixing space, the best thing I can do is add one little other piece of kit to my painting set, and with a little bulldog clip, I've got myself a wonderfully versatile travel set that I can then have all ready to go, and then I can get painting on this side. And so you see just how doable it is to paint outside when you've got the right kit. Clipping on little palettes like this and using a clip for this wonderful little palette, and then you can always just wipe it off with a bit of kitchen roll or with your little handy thing, fold it up and pop it back in its case. I never said I wasn't a messy painter, I've thrown it somewhere, but my gorgeous little watercolour travel set is now available in my Etsy shop and on wintonpaperco.com. We have a limited edition. This is a very special limited collaboration. So I urge you, if this looks like the kind of thing you'd love to add to your travel painting kit, then don't delay and go and get your copy now. You can find the links in the episode notes below, but I hope you found that all rather interesting and helpful. The other thing I love is to just have that little elastic thing to hold various bits and pieces in place. But for now, I think it's time to go inside, out of the elements, and go and have some lunch. So I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you take out with you to go painting if I've not mentioned anything. But for me, it's all about keeping it limited. So that is the ultimate test. And for me, this is the perfect travel watercolour kit. One more thing, I just wanted to come back and show you. I just ran this under the tap and this is just beautiful and pristine and ready to go again. So the great thing is you can wash it off perfectly, clean it up, and it will live another day to paint again. Okay, that's everything now. And it's making me some lunch.